Welcome to the last video of the series. You have made it. Thank you so much for supporting me on this journey and watching all of the videos that I have made. After you finish this one, it'll be 15 videos in total. So what we will be covering in this video is information about some landmarks that we passed through or stopped at on our way to Wyoming. And we have some other stuff to talk about on the way back from the camporee. Do you remember this little notebook that I displayed in one of my previous videos? This notebook is where I wrote the names of people who had an impact on the journey in a positive way. In addition to that, I wrote the names of the places that I wanted to research when I got back home. Here we are a couple weeks later after we got back. It is the last day of August. The first place that we're going to talk about is Channing, Texas. We passed through this on August 2nd, so the fourth video in the vlog. So Channing, Texas is in Hartley County and has a population of only 281 people, and that is not the smallest town here in Texas. In 1888, George Channing Rivers, who was the paymaster for the Fort Worth and Denver City Railroad, founded this small town. The town was previously named Rivers, but then that conflicted with another town in Texas already, so they changed the name to Channing, Texas. If any of you who are watching like American football, then maybe you might know about this old football player named Walt Schlinkman. He played in the NFL during the 1940s, so that was a while ago. That's some interesting information about Channing, Texas, and we could dig even deeper, but for the sake of this video, I don't really need to do that. I'm gonna move on to the next part so we don't make the video too long. The next location is actually Palo Duro Canyon, which is still located in Texas. It is the second largest canyon in the United States. Can you guess which one is bigger? Hopefully you can guess it. It's the Grand Canyon. Palo Duro Canyon is 800 feet deep and 30,000 acres long. 15,000 of those acres are explorable to the common person. This canyon served as a refuge for Native Americans and was the last and most decisive battle in the Red River War of 1874. A fact that was really interesting to me specifically was that a few films were actually filmed in that location, including Old Texas, which was filmed in 1916, a movie called Panhandle that was filmed in 1948, a movie called The Sundowners, which was filmed in 1950, and Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade in 1989. That same day, we passed into New Mexico and came across the town Clayton, New Mexico. This specific town is actually full of history. Native Americans were present there for many years, and the Santa Fe Trail went through that town, bringing the first settlers through New Mexico. That was not the only trail that passed there though. Another trail was called the Goodnight Loving Trail. This trail was actually used by cowboys, but many years later, ranchers actually built ranches in that town and cowboys didn't go through there as much anymore. But the ranches were very far apart and they were huge. A couple years later, the Fort Worth and Denver City Railroad went through that town. Remember, George Channing Rivers was the paymaster for that railroad, and he founded Channing, Texas. That's a cool fact that kind of ties the cities together. When the railroad passed through there, that shut down all of the ranches, and more things started to be developed, like a saloon, hotels. Of course, people live there now. It became one of the small towns that are so common in Western movies. So as I mentioned, the saloon was built there in 1892, and it grew to include gambling games by 1894. 4 years later, the Hotel Eckland was built onto the back of the saloon, and it still is in service today. May 28, 1937 brought destruction to Clayton and its residents. A huge dust cloud that was 1,500 feet tall and 1 mile across slammed into the small town. This cloud was a result of the Dust Bowl crisis. Even though that disaster destroyed the city and many other cities, the residents of Clayton and all the other cities worked together to rebuild what they lost. As I mentioned before, the Eckland Hotel is still open today, but it was shut down, of course, after the Dust Bowl, and only recently opened in July 3rd, 2011. Next is the Capulin Volcano National Monument. If you have been following on my YouTube channel, you will have seen this short that I posted about the Capulin Volcano, but I'm going to say it again for the main video. So the Capulin Volcano has been around for many years, of course, but was only designated as a national monument in 1960. This volcano is an extinct cinder cone volcano. A paved road spirals up the volcano, and visitors can drive up there, park in the parking lot, and look down into the crater that is 400 feet deep. Again, if you remember the short, you'll have learned that 2 astronauts who were part of the Apollo 16 mission trained there for geological purposes, John Young and Charlie Duke. Again, that mission was the first mission that landed on the moon to use an ultraviolet camera. The volcano is 8,182 feet above sea level. Yeah, falling down that is definitely not a good idea. At the very top of the volcano, parts of New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and Colorado can be seen. Okay, that was August 2nd. Now we're moving on to August 3rd, and we're only talking about one park. The park that we will be discussing about right now is the Rocky Mountain National Park. Now, if you were watching my videos before, you will have seen how much fun we had at the park and how amazing it was. I would go back there literally right now. Please someone buy me a plane ticket. Please, please. This park is one of the most visited parks in the entire US. Over 4 million people come there every single year. President Woodrow Wilson signed the Rocky Mountain National Park Act in 1916, which preserves the park. Okay, time for some history. When Native Americans ruled the land, Paleo Indians used the Trail Ridge Road to hunt for food. Also, the Ute and the
Arapaho tribes
hunted and camped on and around the mountains. Settlers came in the mid-1800s and pushed out the Native Americans. In the 1870s, people came to search for gold and silver and founded 3 cities: Lulu City, Dutchtown, and Gaskell. Oh yeah, yes, I did change. It's another day, 2 days later, and now I have 2 days left to talk about. We just finished talking about the Rocky Mountain National Park, which was on August 3rd. Now we're skipping all the way to August 11th, and we're going to be talking about the Sand Creek Massacre. It was also called the Chivington Massacre because it took place in Chivington, Colorado. There were a lot of events that led up to the massacre, so I'm just going to stick to the main facts. So first, gold was found in the Rocky Mountains, and this caused a gold rush, which is known as the Pikes Peak Gold Rush. People came from everywhere to get rich off the gold. So before this, the United States had signed a treaty, the Treaty of Laramie, with the Native Americans, the Cheyenne and the Arapaho tribes. This treaty said that the United States recognized a certain area of land that was just for the Native Americans. Some of the people who went to Colorado wanted to stay and live there on the Native Americans' land. Because of this, the United States tried to form a new treaty with the Native Americans that would push them off the land and say that that land is now the government's land. Of course, this did not make the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes happy at all, but they tried to sort things out peacefully. Unprovoked, some US soldiers attacked Cheyenne tribe members and killed some of the people. Things escalated from there, and a couple days later, the Sand Creek Massacre occurred, where almost 600 Native Americans were killed, mostly women and children. This area is now preserved as a National Historic Site and is protected by the National Park Service. August 12th, it is time for... So on August 12th, we stopped at the Cadillac Ranch. While we were there, I recorded a clip of me asking 3 questions. First, who came up with the idea for the sculpture? Where did the cars come from? And who was the first person to put graffiti on the cars? Now, I only got 2 answers because the last one, that person is unknown. No one knows who that is, but they said a couple years later, after the sculpture was put up, that's when the first graffiti was spotted. The sculpture was created in 1974 by Chip Lord, Hudson Marquez, and Doug Mitchells. 10 Cadillacs were buried nose first, and the cars were old junk cars. The cars spanned the generations of the vehicle, specifically showing off the difference in the tail fins. An interesting fact is that they are tilted at the same exact angle as the pyramids of Giza. Thank you guys so much for watching this series. Make sure you subscribe and share this to your friends and tell them to subscribe too. But I just wanted to say, to finish this up, that more than the actual activities and really spectacular places that we visited, the people that we met along the way and who I traveled with are the things that made the journey special. I am just so thankful for everyone who played a part in helping us get to our goal and get back home safely. I'm out. Wait, how did the hat get on my head?